Scout Team, give them a look. Right. Scout Team, give them a look. What's going on, everybody? Ron Murray, and it is another edition of the Scout Team Net podcast. And on this episode, I'm excited. Basketball is back. It's getting ready to return, but no. I'm not talking about the NBA. I'm talking about the $1 million TBT, the basketball tournament. And with me, I have the Director of Player Personnel and Public Relations, Jake Pavorsky. How you doing today, Jake?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on.
I know it's a very busy week for you, so we're going to get right to it. The TBT. Just talk about the origins of the TBT and how it came about. All these teams come together for $1 million.
TBT started originally back in 2014, open format for $500,000 with 32 teams, all in Philadelphia. It's sort of the brainchild of our founder, John Mugar, who played basketball at Tufts and was a writer in Hollywood and always been a sports fan. Him and his childhood friend, Dan Friel, are now our co-founder, came up with an idea for this basically open format tournament. Anyone can join. He sort of imagined average Joes playing against, professional basketball players. And that's kind of what it looked like in year one. We've continued to grow this thing over the years. Now, in a normal year, it's 64 teams and $2 million. But this year, we're playing with 24 teams for $1 million, all under quarantine with all of our games live on ESPN beginning July 4th and culminating with a championship game on July 14th, where over the course of the Elam Ending, our adjusted ending that was used in the AllStar Game this year, someone will hit a shot to win his team $1 million.
You talked about it, how it's an open format. Literally, you see everybody. You see NBA guys, college stars, EuroLeague stars. How are these teams put together, Jake?
There's a couple different ways. One thing that has become really popular is college alumni teams, guys that played at big schools like Syracuse, Marquette, Oklahoma State, Illinois, et cetera, all coming together, usually run by like a former manager or graduate assistant or something. But there are guys who kind of put together these teams of overseas guys that are just, playing at really high levels overseas, and they basically, bring together a team of mercenaries. So a lot of guys basically spend 11 to 12 months out of the year recruiting players to come and play for their team. It could be through personal relationships. It could be through Instagram DMs, shooting their shot, basically, trying to get these guys on their teams. But there's a lot of effort that goes into it. There's an application process that begins on our website, thetournament.com, in March and concludes June 15th. And then our committee sits down just like the NCAA selection committee, and we select the teams that we want to compete in our field, and then we bring them out here. Now, this year in Columbus, we have a lot of our teams arriving today, June 29th, to kick off this tournament in a couple days here.
And you're someone, you've been a general manager for a team, correct, at one point before you started working for the TBT, correct?
Yeah, I was a GM of a team, a Philadelphia-based team for 2 years in 2015 and 2016 during the beginning years of TBT.
So how much of the player interest have you seen grown over the years? Because we've seen guys like Jimmer Fredette come out and play. How much has the player interest grown from just it's an open format tournament versus like this is a real thing? Even we've seen some guys go from the TBT and getting professional opportunities.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's definitely grown over the course of the years. Obviously, in the infant years of TBT, guys are always going to be a bit skeptical. They don't know a ton of information. They don't even know if the checks are going to clear. But as this thing has grown over the years, it's really been impressive, the amount of guys that have come and played in this thing. You mentioned Jimmer Fredette. Greg Oden has played in it. Jared Sullinger. This year we have 7-time All-Star Joe Johnson playing on the same team with Jarrett Jack and Jordan Crawford. Former number 2 overall pick Hasheem Thabeet is playing in this thing. We have more than 40 guys with NBA experience spread out over the course of these 24 teams. And it's incredible. Sometimes it takes some convincing to get these guys to play in this thing because they didn't know about it originally. But once you get them to play, they never want to leave. There's a certain intensity of this thing that rivals really only March Madness and the NBA Finals. And guys really don't have the ability to get this kind of intense hoops during the summertime. So they crave it, and the opportunity that we give them on national TV, on ESPN, the chance to win some money for them and their families, and as well as the ability to bring them, high quality competition. A lot of guys really look forward to this every year now.
I think one of the greatest things about the TBT, there are the crowds, in each city, each region. But, of course, this year it's going to be different during the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'll give the TBT and you all credit. Y'all have been very proactive in the changes that have been made in the different measures. What are some of the things that you all have done to make sure that this is successful and that everyone is healthy and they come in and leave the same way?
It starts with our coronavirus testing. We partnered with Vault Health to be our official testing partner this year, and they are supplying saliva tests to all of our participants. So our players will, and this goes to our coaches, our staff, everyone has taken at least one COVID test and passed it before they were allowed to come to our location. Once they're here, masks and gloves are worn at all times. We bring them in. They get tested upon arrival again for a third time, and then we isolate them in their hotel rooms for 24 hours until we get the results. And then we continue to test them over the course of multiple days after their arrival. So we basically built in a 5-day quarantine period after their arrival where they can train with their teammates. They can still, go to the court and get shots up. We are keeping a thoughtful eye on them to make sure that they're complying and that they're healthy and safe and obviously COVID-free. This whole thing is going to be played in a bubble. We call it our inner island, essentially, where if you come in, you're not allowed out until your team loses or the tournament's over. And if you leave without our permission, you are not allowed to return. If you pick up coronavirus for whatever reason through the course of the tournament, your entire team is eliminated. So these are, a lot of different steps that we're taking to ensure that, we're doing the best we can to protect these guys and to be able to put on a tournament in a safe, comfortable environment.
And you all already had to send one team home, Best Virginia, correct, due to one of their players catching COVID.
Yes, they were. They opted to remove themselves from the field. This was about a week ago. But the nice thing about that is, we've built in multiple standby teams, as we call them. We had 3 standby teams waiting, and they were going through the same testing protocol and procedures as anyone else in the field. So when Best Virginia dropped out, playing for Jimmy V, who was partnered with the V Foundation and features Hashim Thabit on that team, as well as Marcus Towns, who was on that Loyola Chicago Final Four team, as well as several other professionals, were able to step in. And we continue to have 2 more teams on standby within our bubble, ready to go. And for whatever reason, we have to remove another team.
You brought up the Elam Ending. We were able to see it in the NBA AllStar Game this year. How exciting was it to see something that was implemented in the TBT now being used at the highest level of basketball, the NBA? And where do you think the Elam Ending can go in regards to other leagues using that?
Yeah, it was really special for all of us. And I think credit goes to our founder, John Mugar, and obviously the creator of the Elam Ending, Nick Elam. Nick Elam sent us a presentation to our information email box back in 2017. Our founder read it and was kind of mesmerized by it. And we spent a lot of 2017 debating whether or not to put this into play. And our staff was split. And essentially our founder made the call to give it a shot. He was intrigued by it enough that we used it during our play-in tournament. And then after that, we've instituted it in all of our games since 2018. And just the intensity, the style of play, and the fact that every game is in a game-winning shot really creates some interesting basketball. And the NBA is looking for ways to shake things up, and I think the Elam Ending was the perfect way to go about it. I mean, you saw it was the most entertaining AllStar Game in a very, very long time.
Yes.
The ending was fantastic. Guys really enjoyed playing in it. I think this has the potential to really continue on, whether it be in Summer League, in the NIT going forward. But I think at the end of the day, as the NBA continues to tinker with ideas and try and, reel in fans and keep viewers engaged, I think this is a really potentially interesting idea that you can bring into the G League, see how that works there, and maybe at the end of the day, bring it into some regular season games, or at the very least use it for overtime. I think it has some serious potential in that regard.
Okay, let's talk about some of the teams that are going to be in the TBT this year. Of course, everyone knows Carmen's crew. They finally knocked off Overseas Elite. They just had a stranglehold, winning championship after championship. Big shout out to William Buford and Aaron Kraft. But Overseas Elite, all they did was restock, reload. Like you said, bringing in Joe Johnson, Jarrett Jack. We know those teams, but what are some other teams we should watch out for this coming weekend?
Yeah, for sure. This weekend, there's a great team out of Philadelphia called Team Brotherly Love. A lot of guys that played Temple, Penn State, local schools. They all really, have great chemistry. They ran through the Syracuse Regional last year, defeating the Syracuse alumni team and making their way into the TBT quarterfinals. It's a really talented team and a group of guys that know how to play really well with each other. Big X is a Big Ten alumni team that features guys like Jay Sean Tate from Ohio State, Nick Ward from Michigan State. A lot of guys that played at really high-quality Big Ten schools that are having successful careers overseas. And Wore Tampa as well, a Tampa team from Tampa with some Auburn guys on it, including Bryce Brown and Horace Spencer from their Final Four team, and Fletcher McGee from Wofford, the all-time leader in three-pointers made for the NCAA. But deeper in this tournament, Overseas Elite continues to, kind of set the tone and standard for rosters built. Even in a pandemic year, the team they build is probably better than any team they've ever had before. The money team, which is, kind of being bolstered by Floyd Mayweather and his backing, has some really talented NBA players on it. Tony Roten, for starters, is a really talented point guard who spent some time with the Sixers. You have Kyle Wiltshire from Gonzaga, Nick Johnson, who played at Arizona, 5 or 6 guys in that team with NBA experience. It's a really impressive first-year team that I think could do really well as Golden Eagles, the Marquette team, who fell to Carmen's crew last year in the championship game. They continue to return with the same roster and a really talented group and have their eyes on that $1 million prize for sure.
As you're a Philadelphia guy, grew up a Philadelphia Sixers fan, went to Temple, so I want to know, and this is just doing a little research about you, who would you say top 5 Philadelphia 76ers, your favorite Philadelphia 76ers?
Okay, put me on the spot there for sure. Well, I've only seen, so many good Sixers in my lifetime. Obviously we had the process. There's only, so many high caliber players you can turn to. Allen Iverson, obviously being the number one guy, without a doubt, a fantastic Sixer, all-time, NBA great, changed the game forever. Correct. Not only from a play style, but from a culture style. He's first and foremost the best. I think Andre Iguodala never really got the credit he deserved in this city. I think once he left Philadelphia, people truly realized how good he was. He did, as much as he could with very little talent around him. So I would put him in my top 5 for sure. Aaron McKie was another fantastic
good one.
Guard for the Sixers. AI's sidekick, really helped get AI through those years, kind of being a sounding board and a great, backcourt partner for him. And as well as I got to know Aaron when I was a manager for the Temple men's basketball team. Aaron is now the head coach there and was the assistant when I was there. And an unbelievable guy, a great leader, and someone who's done, really fantastic things throughout his entire life. Drew Holiday was a really good Sixer who probably didn't really have the opportunity to really mature with that organization, given where that team went. But I mean, look at Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons now, two rising stars in the league. Both who are finding their way and continuing to improve every year. Those guys are setting the tone for the new age of Sixers fandom and have people really excited in the city. Okay, before I let you get out of here, Jake, you all get it going this weekend on all the ESPN family networks. What is the next step for TBT, the basketball tournament, in the future? I think the next step is continuing to grow it, to continuing to bring in more NBA players, guys, whether it be GMs of teams or players, with NBA experience continuing to play in this thing. I think it's upping the money at some point, too. I think the original goal of our founder was to try and be able to present a $50 million prize. Now, that's not going to happen overnight. It might take us another 50 years before we get there. But, we continue to kind of have an eye on boosting that to give, guys and players and fans, more reason to tune in, and more excitement and interest surrounding the event. But, we're in a fantastic spot in year 7, even given all the issues surrounding this year and the difficulties with putting on an event. We're really excited to be able to play this thing on a national network, to maybe for some people who may not have been as familiar with TBT in the past, to tune in for the first time ever this year. I think they're going to be really pleasantly surprised with what they see. I think we're going to hook them and have them as lifetime viewers as long as TBT is around. Jake Pavorsky, the Director of Player Personnel and Public Relations of TBT, the basketball tournament. Jake, thank you so much for your time. I know you're very busy. Hey, y'all have a great week this week. Thank you, Ron. I appreciate it. Scout team, give them a look. Right.